Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Amanda and I post videos every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my videos. All right, so let's jump right into what this video is about. This is all about the process of me weaning my daughter Addison from nursing, from breastfeeding. And so I will quickly tell you guys a little bit of the story and how it all went and why we weaned and what we're doing now. So, okay, so I don't think that many people talk about this a lot, and so I thought it would be interesting to make a video because if you plan to wean anytime soon, this will just tell you a little bit about what happened with me. So first of all, I have a 2.5-year-old son named Brody, and then I have a 7-month-old daughter named Addison. So when I had my son Brody, I was so excited to breastfeed and all of that, and my expectations were set very high. And then when I had him and began the process of nursing and everything like that, it was such a challenge. There was so much, like I met with lactation consultants multiple times after we were out of the hospital, and it just was always kind of a struggle. My supply really dipped like around when he was around 3 or 4 months. He became very distracted, and so my supply tanked a little bit, and so I began nursing and pumping and doing all of these things to get my supply up, and I was very excited about making it work, and so I put in the effort to continue on. But I didn't enjoy it. I never got to the place where some women say, oh my gosh, I felt so connected with my baby and so bonded. I loved breastfeeding. Like, I never felt that way. It was always kind of a struggle. My son also was lactose intolerant and could not handle if I ever had any dairy. So it wasn't like a milk protein allergy. It was, what I came to figure out through a series of it was that really he was sensitive to the lactose. So if I ate things that were high in lactose, he would freak out, but if I had things that were low in lactose, he would tend to be okay. So anyways, it was just one thing after the next, and so I was I kept pushing and pushing to stick with it, and around 8 months is when I said I can't really do this anymore, and I switched him to where I was just exclusively pumping for a month. So he switched to bottles, but he was still getting breast milk until his 9-month birthday. And at his 9-month birthday, I said, okay, I'm done. And I weaned him, and the weaning process with him was so easy. He didn't mind at all. He was totally fine. I was totally fine, and we were good. So that was the story with him. Then when I had Addison, I went into having her and into the whole nursing thing. Not super excited to nurse, to be honest, because of my previous experience, but I was like, you know, I'm gonna obviously do it for a little bit and just do it for as long as it's working. And so from the minute that they pulled her out and put her up on my chest, she was trying to nurse. She was all about it from just the minute she came into this world. And it was so effortless with Addison. She was such a great nurser. She did really well, and I always really enjoyed it. So the first couple weeks, I had my moments where I was like, oh gosh, I hate this. And then quickly after that, I got into a rhythm of things. I learned her really well, and we were good. And so nursing was just really easy with her. And I was so thankful to have such a good experience this time around, because the first time was so much harder. And so it was really what I had hoped to experience sometime in my life, and so it was great. And I didn't have to visit with lactation consultants or really go through any of that stuff. She wasn't sensitive to dairy, so it was just all a little bit easier. But anyway, so I nursed her until she was 6 months, and then I started thinking, okay, I'm gonna begin the weaning process. Now, I'm gonna tell you why. So my plan was to go for as long as it was working, and it was still easy, and I did feel like I finally felt and experienced that bond that women talk about. Like I said, I didn't really experience that with Brody, but with her, like I was of course bonded to him, but not from nursing. But with Addison, I don't know, it was something about it, and it just was really cool to nurse her. And so anyway, but we so we're going to Hawaii, and from now it's 4 weeks away. And so I began thinking, okay, we're gonna be gone on a trip. It is a trip that my husband, we didn't plan it. My husband won the trip through his company, and so it's not, so I probably wouldn't have planned it for this time because of nursing and all of that, but because this kind of happened, we're so excited and so thankful for it, and so we're for sure gonna go. So I was like, now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with nursing. So, you know, initially I was like, okay, I can go there and I can pump 5 times a day and breathe in the milk back, and that also sounded like a really big pain in the butt to travel back with the milk, although I hear TSA is really compliant and stuff like that, the airlines and everything. But so then I was like, well, I could pump and then just dump it out, but then the whole time while I'm there, she'll be depleting my whole like storage that I have. So then when I come back, there won't be any really stored up to like fall back on, you know what I mean? So that kind of was like stressing me out a little bit. And so I was just kind of going through all of the different scenarios, and you know, my husband and I have not been on a vacation in a really long time, and so part of me thought, I don't know that like I'll really want to be pumping the whole time necessarily. I don't know. So I went back and forth on it, and then I started thinking, okay, well, if I'm gonna like do this, I need to do it soon enough that she can adjust before we go out of town. So when we leave on our trip, she will be 8 months old. So when she was around 6 months was when I kind of started thinking, okay, maybe I'm gonna do this. And so I definitely didn't go cold turkey. What I did was I started trickling off of nursing and switching to like giving her pumped milk a couple of times a day, but still nursing a few times a day. And then I just slowly started backing off, and she was okay for like a day or two, and then she started kind of totally wigging out. And this became so emotional for me, and I will probably cry in this video because I'm still like getting over it all, to be honest. She became so emotional, and I became emotional. She became very like just different. Like she wasn't sleeping good, and I understand it was a huge transition. And so she, you know, so then I started going, oh my gosh, like what did I do? And so I started going, I can't do this, I can't do this. So I started power pumping like crazy. So I think I backed way off of nursing for like a few days, 3 or 4 days, and then it really hit me, and I was like going, I don't think I can do this. I'm just gonna have to figure it out while we're on our trip. And part of it was like when you're traveling, it's an 8-hour flight, and then you have, you know, you're at the airport for multiple hours before and after and all that kind of stuff. And then the ride to the hotel, I was going, I could go 12 hours without pumping, like, you know, so I don't know how all that would work. It'd be different if it was just like a place that was like a couple hours away, you know? And so anyways, once I realized she was like kind of freaking out, I started power pumping like around the clock, because I was like, oh, sorry, my phone. So I was like, I'm gonna reverse the damage that I've done to my supply and all that, and I'm gonna start nursing again. And so I started nursing her again, or trying, and she was not having it. She like would not nurse. And I was like, okay. So then I start like literally feeling so bad, like feeling like I don't know, like she felt abandoned or something, which is stupid, but I just was like, why won't she nurse? I don't know. And so I tried to nurse her for a week, and she would not nurse. She would just, I would try to get her to latch, and she would scream and scream and just push away and scream. And then I would give her a bottle, and she would take a bottle. And so as I continued trying for the full week and she wouldn't nurse, I was like, okay, well, she's happy with a bottle. That's obviously what's happening here. She doesn't want to nurse anymore. And I think what it is just because the milk was coming out so fast, and you know, she had to work a little bit harder for it the other way. And so I also, it like made me think, man, I could have left town for a week, pumped the whole time I'm there, and come back and her not nurse, because it was essentially the same, would have been the same thing where she's getting bottles for a week, and she had never really had many bottles, just like one here or there. And so I was like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. So I continued the process and continued kind of backing off feedings and giving her bottles, and she started doing so well. She started sleeping good again. It was just a few nights of her being a little wacky, and she was all good. But then I started feeling so bad. I mean, the craziest thing. So like, as my milk, it took a good 2.5 weeks, I would say, for my milk to fully dry up. And I did have some moments there where I was very engorged and in a lot of pain. And when that would happen, I would just, like, when it would get to the point where I could like not even almost breathe because it was so bad, I would pump for like 2 minutes or whatever, or, you know, 2 or 3 minutes, just to relieve a little bit of the pressure. But I didn't want to pump too much because obviously you want your milk to go down. And so, yeah, so it was maybe I had a couple of days there where I was really, really engorged, and then it slowly started tapering off. And then, like I said, maybe 2.5 weeks, it was fully dried up. And anyway, shortly thereafter, or while my milk was still at the end of while my milk was still drying up, I started feeling so bad. I literally was so tired, so nauseous, dizzy, like lightheaded. I would kind of be crampy. There was all these symptoms that were happening that, to be honest, I had a couple days where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. Why do I feel like this? Why am I nauseous? Why am I so tired? Why do I have no energy? I'm dizzy, like I said, all of these things. And I was freaking out, kind of. And so I start Googling and like symptoms of weaning or whatever. And I cannot tell you how many forums I went through and read where women were talking about how they thought they were pregnant because they were experiencing the same things, and when they were weaning. And I had no idea that there were like all of those symptoms like kind of associated with it. It was the weirdest thing. So maybe it was like for a week where I just felt so bad. And like I said, it kind of totally freaked me out because I was like, there's like no way. I mean, how could I be pregnant? Yeah, I was freaking out. Anyway, so I'm not pregnant. That's the good news. But all that to say, I had some crazy symptoms that I had no idea. It was so much harder to wean this time than it was with my son. With my son, it was like I felt totally normal. I never had a moment where I was like, that I feel off or whatever. It was crazy, and I wasn't emotional. And still, here we are like a month later, and I'm still so emotional some days about it. It's getting a little bit easier. She's doing so well. She's thriving. She's happy. It's all good. But like, I had some moments there where I would like saw my breast milk storage bags in the cabinet and just started bawling. And then one night I was watching an Insta story and a mom was talking about nursing her baby, and I like almost cried myself to sleep. Basically, my husband's like, oh my word, Amanda, you know. And it was actually like insane to me how emotional I was about it. But you know, it's so hard to explain, especially if you never really experience it this way where you enjoy it a lot. It just felt very, very emotional because she was just, I don't know. She just enjoyed nursing. I enjoyed nursing her. It went by the 6 months went by so fast, and I can't even believe that she's 7 months old. Like time just flies, and then you get emotional going, man, I'm never gonna breastfeed her again. Like, that's it. That's the end of that chapter, you know. And I thought about that when I switched Brody to a big bed. I got kind of emotional, like, he's never gonna sleep in a crib again, you know, this is crazy. And anyways, I think that's just sometimes how we get as moms with our babies, and just when you look at it all just all goes by so fast. And so that is my experience with weaning and all of that. She's doing so well now. She gets bottles, obviously. She's still using up some of the breast milk that I had frozen. I had a good amount frozen. And we have introduced some formula to her, and I've been mixing it, and she adjusted really, really well to that. And I just mixed it like 3/4 and 1/4, and then now it's about half and half. And sometimes she'll get a full bottle of formula. It just depends on if we're out and about or what. But yeah, she's done really well on it. And yeah, I'm just thankful that the transition has gone well. But there was a couple weeks in there where it was really hard. It was hard, you know, for me, seeing her just adjusting and then also letting go of it all, and me being so emotional, and then me feeling like pretty bad too. So it was kind of a crazy transition, but we are through it. And to all the moms that are watching this video, I just want to say you are doing such a good job. Sometimes you just need to hear it, that you're doing a good job and that your babies love you so much. And it's, you know, it's just the greatest gift to get to raise our little kiddos. So hopefully this just encouraged you or gave you a little insight into what I went through if you're planning to wean and all of that. Or if you're going through it right now and you don't feel great, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and you will feel like yourself again in no time. So hang in there. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you